Now the general elections are over, we must not forget the victims and families of those who have died or were injured in the terrible terrorism atrocities in London and Manchester. Nor should we ignore the immediate danger to the safety and security of everyone who lives, works, and travels to the United Kingdom. We are told there are 3,000 active suspects out there, 500 plots being investigated, 800 people may have returned from fighting in Syria, and as many as 23,000 people are known and to be of interest to the UK security authorities. Further, in the aftermath of the recent incidents in Manchester and London, we are seeing a five-fold increase in hate crime and Islamophobia, bringing within an environment of fear, intolerance and vulnerability. Safety and security being at the heart of our community should not necessarily be a political, racial or religious issue. It is in everyday terms essentially a neutral issue, as regardless of a person's background, age, race or religion, everyone wants to feel safe in their homes, in their neighborhoods, when they're at work, and when they travel or engage in daily cultural or social activities. It therefore follows on the country's government and various state security bodies have a specific duty to protect our communities, those who are vulnerable, and also to prevent further attacks. At the same time, every member of the community has a shared responsibility actively to work with those brave people concerned with protecting us at the heart of our neighborhoods, towns, cities, and the country. Failure to do this will increase fear, suspicion, hate, and lead to substantive negative impact on community harmony and cohesion. If we don't take immediate action, there are greater and far more reaching implications for all of us, where we could see public disorder on our streets, or fearful talented people leaving the country, and of the communities further separating from each other, leading to suspicion and ghettoization of different communities. Fearing all of this in the aftermath of the Manchester incidents, I wrote a personal piece for the UK Daily Mail saying that urgent action needs to be taken with regard to these people identified as potential suspects and of interest by the security services. I advocated setting up in the United Kingdom of regional community-based centres where selected people would be debriefed, risk assessed and theologically examined, and those who require made to go through a de-radicalisation program using the expertise of imams, charity workers and counter-terrorism prevent officers. I also recommended those who pose the greatest and immediate threat should be locked up and, if necessary, interned indefinitely or even deported. My real rationale for suggesting the course of attention so publicly was for several reasons. First, the numbers involved as suspects are so large that ordinary surveillance monitoring and even electronic tagging would not work, simply because there are not enough official resources to deal with them immediately. Second, the trend within the terrorist incidents is directly related to a new global phenomena that radically theologizes and politicizes versions of Islam towards not accepting local norms and values, but violently imposing those espoused by known global terrorist organizations. Vulnerable individuals are targeted, groomed and used to commit the atrocities often learned through the World Wide Web and social media platforms. I believe this is taking place every hour of the day at the heart of our communities, thereby potentially posing immediate danger to all of us. Nobody knows. Third, nobody knows what is the tipping point from holding extremist views and then going out to commit random, no-notice, indiscriminate attacks against innocent people. In the circumstances, we need new and brave solutions to deal with the here and now threat and thereby ensure safety and security of all our communities. I suggest a series of actions that can be taken immediately by the UK government. First, a local community protection register should be set up for each policing area containing the names of persons who pose danger and are actively seeking to create harm. The names of these people are already known to the security agencies. Second, emergency legislation should be brought in by the new government to issue community protection orders, compelling individuals to attend dedicated regional community protection centres for risk analysis by experts, theological debriefing by Islamic scholars, and psychological assessments by specialists. Third, de-radicalisation orders and action plan will be drawn up for each individual, and those who are considered to continue to pose significant danger to the society will be detained for indefinite period. The ideas I'm putting forward are similar to those currently in place to address issues with football hooliganism, sex offenders, high risk of re-offenders, and mental health, and are aimed at ensuring a safer society policy. Furthermore, in the spirit of shared responsibility, especially involving the Muslim communities, of which I am one, we have to take action to root out the extremists amongst the Muslim communities. Mainstream national Muslim organizations should work towards setting up a collective national organization that regulates religious practices, spreads moderate values, and combats extremism and radicalization through supporting the setting up of community protection centers across the UK. In order for the proposed community protection centers to be developed, I would like leading Muslim imams and mainstream organizations to issue a collective fatwa. Firstly, condemning atrocities like the Manchester-London attacks, and secondly, giving religious backing to setting up of these new centers for the good of society. If the Muslim leaders and their organizations give their support, the community protection centers would have the religious legitimacy that they need and will not be seen as a tool of the state. It would also show that the Muslim leaders of this country are doing something to make this country safe and not just delivering words. It will make us more accountable. In the aftermath of my suggestions going public, I witnessed an intense media debate regarding my proposals on radio, TV, and the social media. Rather not surprising to me, I was challenged by some notable of these were Majid Nawaz, an ex-extremist who almost accused me of setting up Muslim concentration camps. Establishment figures such as Lord Blair, Lord West, and Lord Carlisle, who felt the ideas would not work under current system, would create danger and anger amongst communities and would be seen globally as reputationally divisive. I could also hear certain groups and civil liberties organizations oppose the centers on the basis of being oppressive or against the values of a free society, whose rights are more, it seems, important than those of innocent victims and their families. However, the vast majority of the ordinary British public, including many members of the Muslim communities, were willing to give my ideas widest possible consideration and accept that this is new phenomena needed new solutions. Also, it is interesting, in the aftermath of the London Borough attacks, the Prime Minister Theresa May said, "Enough is enough," and suggested the bringing in of tough new terrorism laws and abolishment of some aspects of the human rights laws. As a further solution, I suggest the government should review and overhaul the entire asylum system in the United Kingdom. In the 1990s and beyond, and before that in the 1980s, hundreds of asylum seekers came in from conflict countries claiming they were fleeing persecution. The authorities had no way of seeing if they were genuine or people simply lying to get in. Because of the lack of quality information data, it was impossible to check or vet these people's background properly. The case of the Manchester attack, Salman Abedi, is an example. He too was a son of asylum seekers who never integrated and went on to commit his vile and barbaric act. I think extremist asylum seekers that are in this country need to be re-vetted, and if they are deemed a threat to the national security, they should be kicked out of the country as soon as possible. But within the current legal system, these Islamist asylum seekers could play the system. Think of the Jordanian hate cleric Abu Qatada, who fought his removal for the country for over 16 years through the domestic law courts and the European Court of Human Rights. He cost the taxpayers millions of pounds in his bid to stay in Britain, despite being called Osama bin Laden's ambassador in the West. Further opportunities exist now with Brexit. I think we have a golden opportunity to overhaul the whole asylum system so that individuals can be speedily processed and deported. We must have more stringent tests for individuals trying to come in using the asylum seeker. I strongly suggest the Home Office should urgently set up a dedicated cold case review team to re-examine all asylum seekers and their personal circumstances. However, the danger is now. It is enduring, and action needs to be taken to deal with new realities and what is fast becoming a national emergency. I strongly feel time has come to bring immediate action, thought leadership, and community collectivism in order to make our society safer.